In this video, we're going to talk about why I quit my job as a pharmacist. And if you clicked on this, then maybe you're curious as to if you should be quitting your job in whatever field you're doing that you don't love, or you're just curious about why somebody would do it. And so we'll definitely talk about that. And I also want to give a little bit of advice or my thoughts and opinions on staying in a job that you hate. Before we even begin, I want to unpack this belief that this has to do with money, because to a certain degree, absolutely it does. And to another degree, it really doesn't. I have actually spoken with people who are millionaires who are terrified to leave their job, who are terrified to do something that they actually love. Maybe it was something that they did love and they've fallen out of love with it, or they started when they were young and they didn't really know what they're getting themselves into and they've been very successful, but they don't really like it. Obviously, if you're not a millionaire, you have different issues and problems than what they're going through, and one of those can be that you simply just do not have the money. And this isn't a how-to video on how to quit your job, but I just want us to be able to look beyond this idea that we can't be taken care of unless we're doing something that we hate. I don't come from a background of privilege. You know, I immigrated to America with my parents and my sister when I was 6 years old, and we had to stay in a one-bedroom guest bedroom of my aunt's house because we didn't have anything. I really thought that the American dream for me was getting my doctorate, was becoming a pharmacist, having a professional stature in the world that other people would respect. But I realized very quickly on that having a job that other people respect but you don't respect is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for chronic illness, which is what happened to me. It ultimately just stifles your soul, your creative expression, and who you're meant to be in this world. Some people, their jobs don't bother them that much, right? Like they're like, oh yeah, it's fine, it takes care of the bills, and my main priority is my family or whatever. And so you're probably not one of those people. If you're watching this video, you're probably kind of curious or wanting to explore a different avenue of being and getting paid for that beingness in a way that feels good to you and isn't having to suck your soul day to day. If you're wanting to make this leap, my only advice would be to do it. And I'm still very early on in my journey of quitting my career, and quitting it with nothing really solid backed up to land on. I am on YouTube here, but I didn't really have another job or really another business. It was just like a hobby that I was doing on the side. And it came to a point where I knew that I wasn't going to be able to expand into what I actually wanted to do if I continued putting all of my energy, or even part of my energy, into something that absolutely drained my energy week to week. And for years, I tried to make myself believe like, oh, well, it pays for me to have things in my life and to have experiences in my life and to feed my animals and to give me the money to go spend on vacations and all these things. But it ultimately came to a point where it was like, are all of those things more important than my soul? And the answer for me personally is no, they're not. And I would be willing to risk those for a little while if I have to, because I don't want to do this job anymore. And the number one thing that people ask me, they're like, okay, so what's next? Like, what are you going to do now? Do you have this plan? What's your plan? What's your plan? And to be quite honest, when I quit, immediately I kind of jumped into this fight or flight mode of like, okay, oh my God, what am I going to do? And how am I going to make money? And how am I going to survive? And I realized very quickly that this was a old pattern of never wanting to sit with my emotions and be in these liminal spaces that actually are so fruitful when we sit in them, because I think we're always trying to run away from them, and we're always thinking, well, if you quit one thing, then you've got to immediately start something new. And that doesn't have to be true. Like, maybe you can just sit in the unknowingness of what is happening and what's next, and just be really clear that something has ended, but something new hasn't really began yet, and you can just explore and you can rest. You know, I haven't rested since I was 16. Even with everything that I've gone through in my life, if we're just talking about work, you know, 16, but I haven't rested from a very young age, actually, much younger than that. And maybe you feel the same way. And so when you kind of are constantly going from one thing to not next, and you're thinking about, like, especially as an immigrant, well, there is this fear of losing it all again, and having to start over from scratch and being really scared of that. But the thing is as you grow older, you start recognizing that you have to trust in yourself. You have to believe in yourself more than anyone else is going to believe in you, more than anybody else is going to trust in you. And I'm only 33, so I'm really excited to see how that even deepens and deepens as I get older. Because ultimately, I lost trust in myself from a very young age because I felt like my mistakes were failures. And if I did something wrong or if things didn't go to plan and I had to restart like I am at age 33, that I had done something really, really wrong and that I need to be punished for it. And for years, I punished myself by staying in a job that I absolutely hated because I chose that path. And I felt like, well, now you're in it and this is what you chose and there's no turning back. But over the span of years of doing this work of self-compassion and learning to love myself really slowly and softly enough to really teach myself that these mistakes were just me doing what I knew best at the time. And even for the 9 years that I was a pharmacist and I hated it all, even though the jobs were fine, but it never aligned with my values. Those 9 years that I spent there, I look at it now as 9 years of experience that I needed to know that that's not the life for me. No one could have told me that. I would have never believed you, that I had to really just do something I really love and figure it out from a place of remembrance rather than being 21 years old and feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders and feeling like if I didn't get my doctorate that I would never amount to anything in my entire life, even if that doctorate was not something that I actually liked or believed in. I think about the fact that there may be people who are watching this in their 20s or in their 30s or in their 40s or in their 50s or even beyond and thinking like, is it too late for me? Like, I can't just burn everything down that I've created and start fresh. And I just want to challenge that. I'm not going to say that it's easy. There are some personality types for which it may be easier. But once again, I feel like if you're watching this video, you're probably not one of those personality types that just is able to leave careers really fast and just jump on to the next thing. Maybe you're someone like me who has this sense of responsibility. What I've learned is that this responsibility is actually of like feeling like, well, we have to have this job and hurt ourselves in order to survive and take care of the ones we love is actually not the true responsible way to live, because the truest form of responsibility is to take complete ownership over your life. And in order to do that, you have to be able to look at it and say like, what am I actually doing here? Right? Like if I were to die tomorrow, how would I feel about the choices that I've made? And I thought about this for years before I finally made the decision, because I'm not going to lie to you guys, like it's terrifying. I spent days in this like freeze shutdown mode into anxiety and kind of teetering back and forth. And I have a lot of tools to deal with those emotions, and it was still really difficult. I was terrified. I still am kind of scared because I'm in this liminal space where I don't really know where I'm going, but I know that I'm not there anymore. And I just know that I'm here. And can that be good enough? And can I just rest in the knowingness that I'm here right now? And I made this decision to turn my life around and really commit to that truer responsibility of like, what am I choosing to do day to day? And not only as a way of proving, or not even proving to myself, but not even as a way of loving myself, but also showing other people that this is possible. And your path may look different than mine, but it's possible. It's possible that we can find something that it may not be the same thing, right? It may not be for everybody business. Not everyone will want to become an entrepreneur, because that's a whole nother video, Like I think a lot of us think that we want that, and it is a completely different type of lifestyle. So it may be that you're still working a 9 to 5, but maybe you can find a 9 to 5 that fits your values or that sparks some joy in you. And what if it's okay if the pay isn't as great, or if the benefits aren't as great? What if your life is worth more than pay and benefits? I really don't want to ignore the worldly affairs and the current economic state of the whole world right now and say that, oh, it's, you know, it's easy. It's not. I know, and I see that struggle, and I really empathize with that. And as somebody who has dealt with a bunch of autoimmune disorders and chronic pain because I was living a life that I hated and my body was revolting against me, and now I'm on the other side of those diseases and I see what it took to heal them was to listen to my body, and my body saying, hey, like, we don't want this. This is not for us. And you're not listening. You're not remembering who you are. You're not connected to who you are. And you're not connected to what you actually want. And the more that we can start to listen to that process, we can start to carve our own path step by step, right? One of my favorite quotes is by David White, is how do you know if you're on the right path? The path disappears. And it seems really counterintuitive, but when you start living like that, it takes a massive amount of trust in not just the universe, but in yourself, to know that you've got you and you're going to figure this out and you're going to be okay, and everyone's going to be okay, and the right people will support you, and the ones that don't support you get to fall away, and you get to stand in this new light, and you get to live a life that is valuable to you, that means something to you, that has purpose for you. I hope that this video has been, at the very least, entertaining, and that you've been able to take something away from it that will inspire you to understand that you're worthy of having a life that you love. And you can listen to these words as many times as you need to really let that sink in. And if you need me to tell you that again and again, I will be here to tell you that again and again. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.